Hi, and welcome to Meisterplan for the Resource Manager. My name is Debbie Somerville. I'm the Director of Customer Success, and I will be showing off the features that you might be using the most. The things we'll go through for the next hour are some top practices for resource managers, what the role of the resource manager is within the portfolio planning, and key features of Meisterplan since the last time I showed these off to you. We often hear the question, what is resource management? And no matter your portfolio goals, progress requires that people are actually available to work on those priorities. Resource management is what makes sure people are available. So depending on your role within the portfolio, there's variations to this question. Who is doing the work and when are they doing it? So as a resource manager or a functional manager, sometimes even product managers, the focus is typically in the weeks or quarters ahead, one, to ensure the capacity is available for a smooth execution of the work, as well as getting ready for future work by providing inputs to the estimations. So in today's hour, we're going to be focused on some of these features within Meisterplan that allows you to get this done. We recently posted a blog on what is optimal resource utilization. It highlights a number of best practices that we hear most often from other resource managers. And besides attracting the right talent, the goal is to keep them around, right? There is a high cost of losing people, and there are things that cannot get done if those people leave. And so, in order to prevent attrition, there are things as a resource manager could help. One is how you plan the work. Planning the work includes keeping utilization rate around 80%, reserving time to innovate. Why? Well, it won't get done otherwise. Also, team members love being creative and love the challenge. The third is keeping the number of complex projects down to a minimum, or there will be delays in other projects. And while planning the work is important, you need to monitor the risks of that work. Keep the flow of your team moving forward by removing non-value add work and quickly removing those barriers that are getting in their way. The second risk that happens is what I call the stress spectrum. Know your team members and what they can handle before they're frazzled. Too much, not enough. Everyone has a different spectrum, so you just got to have the pulse of each team member. And the last one is not having the skills available when you need them, especially for that future work. This takes forethought on your side and developing these skills before they are a constraint. Since the last time I reviewed with you the resource manager features, there's been a number of updates that have been made. I will be reviewing these new features from the last year as a summary. There are also a few things coming up that you could be interested in, and I'll give you a summary of what those will be. All right, let's get started on our demo. So this is Meisterplan, and I wanted to just quickly review some of the things that contribute towards capacity and availability for those that might just be starting out. Although none of the features I'm reviewing are new over this last year. So a quick review. Capacity in Meisterplan is aggregated to a primary role level. This is where you're going to add those future demands against project work that is desired to be done over the next 2 to 4 quarters. People are tied to roles, and when looking at people, Capacity is influenced by the number of people you have to a role, the calendar that they're attached to, because that indicates the working hours, as well as part-time, out of the office, more like 3 months out of the office. Maybe I'm a part-time employee at 50%. That will indicate their capacity levels, as well as absences, and I'll say significant absences. While I'm here, I would like to give you a sneak peek on one other thing that is coming, hopefully in December, so it's right around the corner, and that is our Teams function. So while today everything in Meisterplan rolls up to a role level for capacity, for demand, do you have enough to complete the work, it will also be able to roll up to a team level. So you'll need to put some thought into these teams. The concept is you have a dedicated team that is maybe for a value stream, maybe for a software product, and the team is made up of people, maybe 100%, maybe not. But you can tag many of the same kind of fields to a team as you can to a person. So just know this is coming. More information will be released as it's coming out, but this will be another way to view demands and capacity, and can you get that work done? Another influencer of availability and capacity is what I would say is time away from projects. So for example, if you have people that need to work on other things, maybe support, maybe smaller projects, run the business, sometimes it's called business as usual, each person should have one of these placeholders. I have a couple here set up in our demo, and it would allow you to reserve a percentage of their time. Say 20% is for run the business. If I move this to FTE, you can more clearly see that percentage that I just maintained. So this is a quick way of reserving some time off the top for administration or run the business. Ask your Meisterplan administrator what the names are for these. How would you search for them? Because every person likely should have one or more of these to be aware that other things are taking away their time. I would recommend a process you look at quarterly or yearly. It likely doesn't change much. However, there might be periods of time you want to change that to help support maybe upcoming go lives and launches. All right, so let's dive into Team Planner. Team Planner is the place that resource managers likely are hanging out for the majority of their time. And this is where you're going to monitor the work that's coming up. You're going to look at utilization rates. You're going to be able to plan for innovation time, which I recommend is usually just one of these line items that just says innovation. So you're just real clear what you're planning for. And reviewing the number of complex projects on each of these people's workload. Quick navigation. I would recommend setting up two different views, one for what work is upcoming. So this is at the role level. This is indicating someone needs one of your roles that you're managing. And what you can see here quickly is the work that's being asked of, as well as knowledge, can you handle this work? So quickly looking at the histogram, I can tell that during the early quarter one, I am not able to handle this work. It allows me to have this conversation of, is the senior developer really needed? Is there somebody else that's available? The goal here would be able to staff this to somebody who has some availability. If I move this to someone of my team, or being able to find someone on other roles that might be able to also handle the work. Okay. To staff it, you would just quickly click who needs to do the work. I was able to fill this demand by Lee. At the same time, if I needed more people on this for, say, a certain, maybe some oversight, this is number of days, I can add 2 people here to this project so that, one, there could be some mentoring going on to a junior and staff this role. Okay, what happens there is it's moving that demand over to those people. So look at this view. It's ideal to kind of name that resource maybe 1 quarter out. If you're having planning intervals, that would be the time to think of getting that done, while you can see future forecast always at this role level. The other view that would be helpful, I'm calling it tactical resource planning. It's a view of the people. While I'm viewing the people, I want to be able to make sure I'm seeing if there's any issues coming up. I'm able to look at what's on their plate. And just by a quick view of this histogram, I'm able to see that the capacity is over. The red means overcapacity. This little line underneath the histogram is remaining capacity. And when that's negative or red, it means it's over capacity. When it's blue, like Linda, that means it's underutilized. That means you can put more work on Linda, and the goal is to see if you can level out some of this work to some of your other team members. You can change the navigation here to FTE, hours, or days. When you're looking at future planning, quarters are the best way to look at this. When you're looking at leveling and monitoring of people's time, monthly is probably the best way. You probably noticed that I did filter on primary role. That filter can be done here a number of ways. You will have to ask your Meisterplan administrator if resource manager is a used field within your Meisterplan system. If it points to you, you can easily say the person logged in, which is me, let me see my team. In this case, I'm not logged in as a resource manager. The other thing to ask, is there any other way to filter out team members? Oftentimes there's a department filter here, maybe an office or a value stream. You'll need to ask what the standard is. All right. Beyond the navigation, you can search here for a team member if there was a long list. You can also configure this to show team members by a department. And then the last navigation I'll bring your attention to is some setups I've seen have a field like complexities. How high of a complexity is it? And you'd be able to quickly see which projects are more complex than others. Maybe there's another, I'll just change that to risk level. So when you're looking at a project, you can see the Gantt color changing there. So if that's a complexity score, maybe it's a health status indicating that that project's kind of at risk maybe for resourcing. You have a different lens coming in looking at each of these projects. All right. Some other things that can be helpful while you're in here is, besides looking at the projects, seeing who you need to staff them to, leveling out the projects. While you're thinking of leveling out projects, there might be something you need to do on changing who is assigned that project. So if Annabelle here cannot work on new reporting engine, I can replace that resource and give that to Linda. By default, everything comes up to who's available, and I can move that down to Linda's availability. Okay. You can also make some changes here directly into the cells. If perhaps I can only do 0.5 FTE here. Actually, I can't do anything here. There, it's 0.5 over. Could I add that time to a future time period? Obviously, if that's going to change the deliverables of that project or change the end date, that's a conversation you need to have. But if you're able to maintain the deliverables, leveling it out typically is a resource manager function. When I'm looking at projects, there's a few things you can see up here. You can see the overview. That's not new. The only thing that is new is that we have introduced project types. This one just says project, but this could have been a different project type, which then shows different information. So that is something that's new and just to be aware of, on the side panel. Comments is not new, but as a reminder, if there is, if you're using Resource Manager as a way to know people are linked to a certain resource manager, there's a benefit right within Meisterplan that you will get notified of when anybody changes allocations on one of your team members. This just keeps you in the know. You might have known it from the last meeting you had with the project manager, but it's a really great way to make sure you're getting that notification. And so I'd ask you to look at your profile in the top right and make sure your email notifications are turned on at least daily or weekly so that you would be able to see those notifications. Another item that just to be aware of is on the allocation comments, similar to project comments, which project comments tend to be at more of a global level and what needs to be done at a project as a whole. Allocation comments are really specific to a project and person. So it's a way that we would suggest you and project managers talk to each other. It's kind of more of an offline channel here. Maybe running into problems and need to change a resource, or maybe some additional scope from the project manager saying, "Hey, can Dolores be available?" So again, it should not take away the need for the phone call, but definitely gives you a chance to comment offline as a reminder. What is new since the last time we talked is a task connector. The task connector is a way that allows us to see which tasks are, and let me show you this within my other system here. So when I'm looking at a project for, say, Julia, let's change this to a this is where we would be able to link today out of the box some JIRA work to a project. And this is done usually up front in kind of the funnel of the life cycle. But once this is linked, we would be able to see are the stories and the improvements in JIRA able to fit the work planned here in Meisterplan. So talk to your customer success manager if this is something that's of interest. We will continue to evolve this task connector. Today we can do some Power Automate that connects Project Online. We can connect Smartsheet, and it's a really nice way to kind of see it all together. All right, let's go back to my other environment now. The other thing that we can see on projects when I open it up, you might see some changes from your Meisterplan administrator that we now have different details here, but something I wanted you aware as a resource manager and thinking of an entire project at once, while you can add that demand in Team Planner, That is also available here in the project details and the allocation tab. So when I'm adding a resource or a role, the first time that you add that, you're able to indicate how much of that role do you need. So I'm in FTEs, I'm in year. That's a quick way of entering effort, and you don't need to spread it out. It will peanut butter spread that based on the Zoom level you're in. Later, you can make some changes to that. But this is a quick way of kind of collaborating on a project and who's needed. Just fill in the total column. You can do that by FTE, days, or hours. If your project manager is maintaining milestones, that's also a good way to kind of reflect when time is needed based on those milestones. So that, look for that within your project details. All right. A couple other things to maybe show off in Team Planner is you remember the change log, and when I'm highlighting a project, I will see a change log for that project. I can filter on that change log. So if as a resource manager, you really only care about allocations, filter on allocations and don't be worried about everything else that's changing on the project. Now, what can you do with this data once it's here? One, you're looking for those constraints and what you can do about it. You might want to get into a scenario model to just play around with options. So plan of record typically is your current plan of attack. Whereas if I'm in a scenario and I add a new scenario here, I can do a scenario, add an open. This allows you to make changes and see what the output of that change would be so that when you're in that scenario, you are able to not overlay anything in the plan of record and just see if that would work. And if it does, then you have that at your fingertips to be able to either make those changes in the plan of record or ask someone of security levels to submit that back to the plan of record. What else can you do? Typically, reporting is a resource manager need, and I will highlight the heat map. You can see just your roles if you want to filter on your roles, or if you had a department code here, you'd be able to choose different options if this is available for you. And so the resource department can indicate who I care to see, maybe just the professional services organization. Notice my list is now shorter. When I expand, I've chosen to see the resource name. Perhaps I also would be helpful if I see the project name. Project by rank is what you would want to see up here in your row fields. Hit apply. So now I can see the project name and who's also on it. I can switch this if I need to. The heat map can be configured to say what does it mean to be over capacity? Is it 100%? Is it 80%? Is it 110%? So whatever you're looking at, that can change the color code for you, and make sure you're addressing the most important thing during that session. The other report that is widely used is something I call remaining capacity by role. This is a report that is showing the outputs of all your estimates you've put in compared to your capacity of your roles of people and what's remaining. And so the remaining capacity allows you to kind of hone in on maybe that next 6 months and see if you are going to run into problems. And I have sorted the primary role by this column, which shows me that the project manager's role is averaging, grand total is actually an average column, is averaging almost 1 FTE over capacity. Negative is over capacity. So even if I level out some of the time in these months, I'm not able to handle this work. So the thought process you have to have, how likely and certain are you that those estimates are right? And are you just going to monitor the problem, or escalate this as a concern? When it's a positive number, junior developers, you can see, has one full-time utilization that you could still fit in more work. So this is a nice view when you're trying to see, are you going to have some issues in the long run, and where do I need to think of leveling out my work? Another favorite is roadmap. In the past, resource managers have typically had some concerns because the roadmap was more project filter related, if you will. What's needed for this department, or what projects are being done for this business goal. So if I were to look at strategic roadmap, what projects are for that? So it's really great for that reason. But resource managers, right, want to know what projects my team is working on. So one of the newer features we've had in this last year is a change your Meisterplan administrator can make. So you'll need to talk to them, but if I configure a view here, there is likely a view that is called by resource manager. Maybe it's by a department. Perhaps that has already a department filter on here for projects within the professional services department. However, you want to see projects that also your team is on, even if they're being done by some other department, right? Say maybe the software engineering team is using your group. This is a new checkbox. This is a checkbox to talk to your Meisterplan administrators to see if it would make sense to add to some of the views. What this gives me now is the ability to see just this list of projects, but also any project that my team is working on. It's an and. So that's a new feature that I would recommend talking to your group about. And there's also been some improvements in the My Schedule. It used to be called My Projects. We've just renamed that to My Schedule. And when actual time tracking is turned on, you will see that in the top right quadrant. So the bottom part is the planned work for a team member. I'm pretending I'm Myra right now. The top part is actual time worked. Nobody likes to track actual time. I get it. I would encourage you to think how to get actual time into Meisterplan for two reasons. One, if you are able to capitalize work that is done, your finance team would love the fact that you come in here and are tracking actual time, and we can show you how to make sure things are logged as capitalized work. The second is getting better at future estimating takes you to understand how well did you do the last time, so you can compare it to work. Much like the value of story point estimating with Agile, even certain deliverables you can compare, is that bigger than the past project or smaller? By tracking actual time, we'll have these figures in here that we would be able to compare. That actual time is available in reporting and also available in dashboards. And while right now this is still very project-centric, what kind of projects are here, monitoring the project's value, knowing from an actual time perspective, monitoring the time. Project managers, portfolio coordinators are typically coming in here. Keep your eyes out. We'll be making some improvements where more resource-centric measures would be able to be tracked in 2025. All right. I went through that very quickly, but these things are really important for you to be able to understand how to leverage. Give your customer success team a call to be able to deep dive any one of these. And what I would like to leave you with is a few points. There is value in getting better at future planning by leveraging the information in Meisterplan. So again, I would encourage you to think of one, actual time tracking, and during your retrospectives, being able to look at why did it take longer? Maybe it didn't take longer, but that is something to be looking for to get better at future estimating. I would also like to encourage you to ask about our time estimating workshop. We have some training available for team members and project teams that would have a framework that is provided to you that looks to estimating at more of a feature level, not a task level, but more of this high level feature level, because there's a science to that and an art to that, as well as to the task level. So give us a call if you think you could benefit from that. We also have a Capacity Essentials reporting pack. It drills into our 3 most commonly requested reports from a capacity side, being able to see it by resource manager, by department, by role, even by project, and be able to see any project that has any constraint so that you could identify some of the risk and be able to hopefully see the problem with enough time to make something different happen. The fourth is start thinking about the task connector we have and connecting your work tasks where it makes sense to consolidate the tasks, the reality of all those projects to the plan. We're now able to better connect these dots for you outside of our JIRA out-of-the-box connector. The last thing I would like to leave with you is that we are still hosting virtual networks. The virtual network is an area where 3 to 5 customers that care to talk about a common topic come together once a month, 1 hour. It usually goes for 6 months, sometimes longer if the team wants to stay together. Let us know what topics you're most interested in, and we'll listen for other customers that have a similar topic. In 2025, we have heard about many customers wanting to do an agile planning within Meisterplan topic. If you're interested, give us a call or email us at support@meisterplan.com and let us know your interest level. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great time using Meisterplan and love to hear back from you.